and gives you what? It gives an output. It takes in input, it acts on it, processes it, and then returns an output. I like to think of functions like if you look at your blender at home, your electric blender, you put in input. What do you put inside? Tomatoes, peppers, onions, what else? Eh? You put them, those are the inputs you put in the machine. And then you ask it to carry out an operation. And after that, there is what? An output. So functions work exactly like that. It takes in input, it processes it, and then returns an output. Okay, so in R, a function is a block of R code that is designed to perform a specific task. Just like we mentioned earlier, that functions take inputs, or what we call arguments, and return an output. Now we have, in R, we have three main types of functions. Just like has been mentioned in the course of this workshop, we have the built-in functions. These ones, they are in base R. They're already in R. They're already available in R. And we've been using some of them over time. We have used have we used the plot function in our class? Okay, no. So we'll be using that in this lecture. We'll be making use of the plot function. Is a built-in function in R. What other ones do we have? Built-in functions in R that we've come across. Can we mention them? Huh? Mean, the mean function. I think Mr. Sam mentioned that yesterday. What else? The standard deviation, the C, the concatenate function or the combine function. We looked at it yesterday to help us create vectors. So those are built-in functions in R. Then we have package functions. These are functions that come when you install a particular package. And we'll be looking at, for instance, the DESOLVE. The DESOLVE package gives us the ODE function. We have ODE function is a package function that comes from the DESOLVE. I hope we've all installed DESOLVE. Have you all installed DESOLVE? Please, if you have not, start doing it now because we'll be using it in the course of this lecture. The DESOLVE, do I have marker here? Can I get a marker? DE, small letter D. Thank you. So if you have not installed the DESOLVE, quickly install it. DE, capital letter S, LVE. You have install.packages. Install.packages. Then DESOLVE. So if you have not installed that, quickly do that while the lecture continues. So the ODE function is from the DESOLVE package. What about the ggplot function? Where is it from? Okay, all right. So in Camda Intense, you can help those that have not installed the DESOLVE package. You can help them. Please, if you have not, you can raise your hand so that you can get help in installing that so that it won't waste our time. Where is the ggplot function coming from? From which package? From where? Who is talking? From where? Where is the ggplot function coming from? From which particular package? From ggplot2, the package called ggplot2. So that guy is coming from. So we have several package functions. Then we have user-defined functions. These are the ones that you defined yourself, you created yourself. So in model simulation, we'll be using all these three. We'll be making use of all these three functions. We'll be making use of the built-in functions, the package function, especially the ODE that helps us to solve. It helps us to solve our model numerically. And then we'll be creating our own functions too. User defined, these are functions that are created by the user, e.g., and then it usually follows that format. You have the name, you create the function, and then you have this brackets, and then you have this curly brackets. Can we see that? So after creating the function, you give it a name. You know, when God creates, he names it, is it not? When he created animals, he asked Adam to do what? To give it a name. So when we create function, we give it a name. So you create this function, it follows this structure. So these are the three functions we'll be looking at in R. Then creating user-defined functions in R. How do we do that? Just like I've mentioned earlier, the user-defined function in R usually follow this general structure. It follows what? This general structure, the function, the inputs or arguments. What do you want to put into that function? What it needs to the input, just like our blender. Our blender needs pepper, tomato, onions. Those are the inputs. So our function needs the input, and then you open a curly bracket, which is also closed here, and put the instructions that you want the function to run with. Is that clear, please? All right, so that's how to, and then everything here, you assign it to this object's name of your function. You name it. You have a question? All right, ma'am. You said what? Yeah, sure. We're going to get an example soon. All right, so let's see an example of this guy, a very simple one of how to, I hope we've opened our laptop because we'll also be doing this quickly, and we need to be very fast with this. So let's see an example. I hope this is clear, is visible enough. So example, I'm creating a function. X is my what here? What's my X? X is the what? The what? The inputs or the arguments. Now, so you put that in a bracket, and then you open a curly bracket, and you put the instruction, the rule you want this, you want to guide your function. What do you want your function to run with? So there's a rule here. What's the rule there? 5 times S. Can we quickly do that in R? Quick, in the next 2-3 minutes. Let's do that quickly. So we have a function. So we store that as my function, and then you can now return it and give the output. Are we doing that? All right, so let's do that quickly. You said what? Yes. You type, you can name it. That's the name I want. I call the function I created. You can decide to give it your own name. You can call it Joyce. The name of the function is Joyce. Or the name of the function is, you can call it products.
I get another call.
Online class.
Just again, so
there are 2 different types of brackets there. Let's be mindful of that. So we have function, bracket, the usual bracket, then the curly brackets, 5 times X, 5 asterisk S. Then you close the brackets. Have we closed it? So now have what? My function. You now have a function now. You now want to call out, you want to call the function, and then you put the value of, you can use any value as our input. So instead of x now, we put 3. So 3 here stands for our x, this guy here. So after you have defined your function, you have my function. So the input here is 3. So what does it return? What does it return? So you are saying this is my function. I'm giving you an input 3. And then it acts on it based on the instruction you have defined earlier. So it will do 5 times 3, and that returns 15. When my input value is 5, it should return 25. And then if it's 9, you get 45. So I've gotten 15. Okay, so want to move like the speed of light. Can we move? This is we are still gathering tools, so I don't want us to waste so much time at this because we have limited time. Are we good? Remember, these are all outputs. You don't need to type. Where we have a hash, you don't need to type that. That should be the output of the R code that you ran earlier. Are we good to go? Okay, so let's see a second example, a much more complex example. Let's look at this function. Oops. This is a function that depends on t. F of t equals to at squared plus bt minus c. So maybe we should do that together. Where is dp? How do I go to R? R. Okay. Copy. Okay, kò ṣáà fẹ́ ti share rẹ̀. Ah, lágbára. Jọ báwo ni pásítọ̀ ṣe ń ṣe sí wọn? You shouldn't, because I'm always copying and pasting. Go on R. Yeah, that's already there. Of course. Oh. Ibẹ̀. All right, so let's do that. Okay. Okay, so we want to define this quadratic function. Where camera be now, which switch should be seen now. I want to go to R, but it's not showing. Could display on R. All right, so let me try to write that as the media guys are helping us to fix it. So we have a function we want to define, a quadratic function, f of t equals to at squared plus bt minus c. So let's define our function. Let's create a function. We open our brackets. Now look at all the components of the function. It has what? The independent variable there, t. It has a, b, and then c. So these are the inputs or the arguments of that function. And then we also open a curly bracket and put the instruction, the definition we want. Is it okay now? So we have what? A times what? T squared. How do we do that in R? You put this cap. Alpha. Okay. All right, so we are defining our function. We have named it what? What's the name of the function? Quadratic. And then the inputs of the function. So can we see that? Have we typed that? Aha. So the input and then the rule, a times t squared plus bt minus c. So can we run that to see if it has stored, if it is now stored in the global environment? So we want to create different values for t. Yesterday, we learned about the sequence function. What does the sequence function do? If I have sequence from, if I have this, from 0 to, let's say 5, by what? By 1. What would this give me? What would be the output? 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. Is that not? So it's moving at by steps of one step. What if I have by 2? Zero, 2, and 4. All right. Okay. So our sequence now, we've now defined the time steps from -5 to 5 by 0.5. Can we type that and see what will be the first value it will give us? -5, and then the next one will be what? Minus what? -4.5. So let's try to run that and then see what t returns. So sequence -5 to 5 by 0.5. So if I run that, and then have we done that? Have we seen the values of t? All right. So we can see the values of t in the console. We have -5.0, -4.5, up till 5.0. So those are the inputs, the values of t that our function will be making use of. And then we should also assign values to we assign values to the constants we took. So we assigned 2 to A, 3 to B, and then 4 to 6. Have we done that? Have we done that? Are we together? Have we all assigned the values to ABC? All right, so just like we did for the first example, where we're able to see some of the outputs after imputing those values. We imputed 3 and then we got 15. We imputed 5, we got what? 25. We can also do that for this. Remember the name of our we named our function quadratic. So we now have quadratic, and then put in the input there, T, A, B, C, and run. So if you run that, and then print out Y, are we together? Is it too faint? How can we, let me see if I can increase this. Is it better now? Or can we switch off the light here? Huh? Okay. It said it's going to put off the projector. So quadratic TABC is being assigned to the object Y. And then we can now run that. Have you run that? What did we get? If you run Y, you will get all the outputs. Okay, Y not found. Mine is saying Y not found. Why? Because I've not run that line 10. All right, so we now have the values of Y now. Okay, let me. So did we obtain these values? Let's check. Did we obtain these values? So these are our outputs. You said what? The code, okay. We defined the function and then store it to an object called quadratic. And then we also define the time frame, the time points, and we call out that. And then we also assign values to our constant A, B, C. And then we obtain this. So we can plot the results. Well, so you can try to plot that. We will not be doing that because of our time. I want us to move to model simulation because we don't have much time. So you can plot this using the plot function. When you plot, you put your T, your Y, and then you put all the arguments in the plot function. You should be able to plot that. Has anybody plot that? All right, so you can take that as an exercise. You plot that as an exercise. Because of our time, I don't want us to waste so much time on. I just want to quickly introduce how to create user-defined functions for us. So let's move forward. All right, so that's the stop sharing. Huh? Are we together? Where did we stop? So I said plots that you're going to continue with that later on. We don't have much time. We don't have much time. You're going to plot that afterwards. Just put your T, the type, and then put all the supply all the arguments for the plot function. Or how am I supposed to move from one place to another? All right, so can we move forward? Can we move on? Can we move on to model simulation? Why? You can just snap it and you then do that later. We don't have much time. We want to go into the business of today. All right, so let's go to model simulation with R. Model simulation is a tool for understanding the behavior of a system. It helps us to explore the effects of changing parameters and compare different scenarios. You've developed your model. Now you want to say your model is looking at the effectiveness of a particular intervention, or say coverage, vaccination, the coverage of vaccination. You're looking at the effectiveness of vaccination, for instance. You want to carry out some scenarios. If we vary the coverage level of vaccine, for instance, what is going to be the impact on the population? So you can use model simulation to help you explore those different scenarios. It helps us to make predictions about future outcomes. Now, so as an example, we are going to be using this simple SIR epidemic model. Some persons are still stuck on function. Should we wait for them or we should continue? I think you can just do the plot later. Are we together? All right, so we want to look at this simple SIR model. It's an epidemic model. S, susceptible. I is what? The infected population. And R are the what? The recovered population. It's an SIR epidemic model without demography. What do I mean by without demography? No what? No beds, no what? Deaths, no movement in and out. It's a closed population. And you usually use epidemic models to model diseases that epidemic disease, like diseases that come at that with short outbreaks. For instance, you want to model Ebola. You model using epidemic models like this. You don't need to, because of the short duration of the outbreak. So we have this simple SIR model with the initial conditions. Now, this is just a general model for us to understand how to code, how to bring in differential equations into. Some of you, I believe that many of us in our various groups, we have developed models. Is it not? We've not developed our models. Okay, hopefully by today, you should develop your model in your group. And I'm very sure, I'm 100% sure that your model will be much more complex than this guy. Yes or no? Your model, because this will not capture many of the reality you'll be modeling in your groups. So this is just a simple example for us to see how to carry out model simulations in R. And so the different models we have developed in our groups, we also follow the same process. it will follow the same process we want to use here. So it has some initial conditions. We have specified the initial conditions. Unlike when we were doing, when Mr. Idowu took us model development, we didn't specify the initial conditions. We just give a general initial condition that S at S naught is strictly greater than 0, I naught is also greater than 0, and then R naught is 0. But for this particular one, because we want to carry out simulations, we have specified the initial conditions. What is the total population here? Total population is what? 1,000. So throughout this simulation, we have 1,000 people always. Because why will it be 1,000 always? Why? Because what? Because it's a closed population. Nobody is coming in, nobody is going out. We want to see the dynamics of the infection as time goes on. So S at 0, that is at the initial time, the number of susceptible individuals are what? They are what? 999. At initial time, how many persons are infected? Only one person. So, for instance, if you are doing a data-driven work, your initial time could be, maybe we want to model COVID-19, for instance. And then I have the data of, I have daily incidence data of COVID-19 from maybe January 1st till this moment. What's today's date? What's today's date? 12. So what will be my initial time? In that case, what will be my initial time? Time t equals to 0 will be what? January 1. If it's a daily, if my simulation, I'm taking it at daily intervals. Is that clear? So my initial time, the initial condition, I'm going to specify it at January 1, the beginning when I'm doing my model simulation. So we are looking at initial time, the susceptible individuals are 999. I is what? 1. R at initial time is what? 0. And then we have the total population, N, equals to what? S plus I plus R. What kind of incidence is this? We talked about this on Monday. What kind of incidence function is used here? Many of us, I said the prerequisite for this lecture is that you must have attended the lectures of, must have attended Prof's lecture, must have attended Mr. ID's model development, and then Mr. Sam's work, section on introduction to R. So what sort of incidence function is this? Frequency. What are the two that we mentioned on Monday? What are the two types of incidence function? Mass action and what? And what? Standard. Standard what? Standard incidence. The mass action is also called what? Density dependent. Why the standard incidence is also called the what? The frequency dependent incidence function. So for this, we are using this frequency dependent incidence function. And then I also specified the parameters. What are the two parameters in the model? We have beta, this guy, and then we have what? Gamma. Beta is what? Is the transmission rate, while gamma is what? Recovery rate. How do we obtain? I believe many of us that have developed our model in our different groups, we have obtained these values. We have obtained our parameter values. How do you obtain these parameter values when you are carrying out your modeling work? Some of the parameter values, some of them you'll be getting them from previous literatures. Some other parameters, you will obtain them by understanding the epidemiology of that disease. You get some parameter values by looking at the epidemiology of the disease. Some others, we are going to estimate them. For instance, if let's assume we have let's assume we have an SEIR model. If I have an SEIR model, SEIR. This is sigma. Oh, no. This is lambda, the force of infection. Let's call this guy sigma, and then gamma. So what is sigma here? What is sigma? The what? The rate at which what? People progress from the exposed class to the what? To the infectious population. The rate at which people progress from this class to this class. That's sigma. So how do we calculate sigma? Calculate that rate. Now you can calculate such rates, or if you want to calculate, say, the recovery, the rate of recovery, the rate at which people recover, say gamma. How do you calculate? How do you compute such parameter values? We usually use this formula. The rate at which something occurs equals to 1 over the average time to the event. What do I have on the board? The rate at which what? Something occurs equals to what? 1 over what? The average time to the event. Now, if I want to calculate this guy, the rate at which people progress from being exposed to the infectious stage, that's the rate at which somebody progresses from this, that's sigma, is going to be what? 1 over the average time spent here. That's the latent period for that disease. So, for instance, for malaria, what's the latent period for malaria? What's the latent period for malaria? Huh? How many days? Let's say about, let's say an average of 12 days. Huh? So to calculate this guy, is going to be the rate at which people progress from this class to this class. Is going to be what? 1 over what? How long do people stay in that class? How many days? Let's say 12 days or 10 days. If our unit of time is in days, your unit of time could be monthly, it could be daily, it could be yearly, it could be weekly, depending on the data you have. So this is going to be what? 1 over 12 per day. Do we understand? Is it clear? Or should I repeat myself? We are saying the rate at which something occurs, that is, we have assumed an exponential distribution, that the waiting time follows an exponential distribution. So the rate at which something occurs equals to 1 over the average time to the event. Now, if I take this guy, gamma is the recovery rate. Let's look at our gamma here. This guy here. This is the recovery rate. People are recovering from here, and then they are moving here. They are moving to the recovered class. Now, how do I calculate the rate of recovery? The rate of recovery, or the recovery rate, is going to be 1 over the average time spent being infectious. Do we understand? The average, how long do people, on average, how long do they spend being infectious? Do we get that? So if on the average, individuals spend about 20 days being infectious, the recovery rate is going to be what? 1 over what? 1 over 20. Do we get that? So there are some parameters that we compute using that way, and then there are some we get from the demography. If you are doing a data-driven work, you want to look at, say, the population of that of the location you are looking at. What if I want to calculate? What if I want to calculate or I want to compute natural death rates, mu? How do I calculate natural death rates? How fast do people die? You want to calculate the rate at which people die in Nigeria. It's going to be 1 over how long do people stay alive before they die in Nigeria. So what is the life expectancy in Nigeria? How many years? 75K. 50. I pray God will help us to make our life expectancy. So if I want to calculate, for instance, now some of us in our models, we will be have natural death rates. In this particular model, there is no natural death rates because we have said that it's a closed population, no demography, we don't account for that. Now, if you have natural death rates or natural mortality rates, it's going to be equals to 1 over the average what? Life expectancy. So the rate at which something occurs equals to 1 over the average duration to that event. So for this, I just took these values arbitrarily. My beta is 0.30, and then my gamma is 0, because I'm not considering any specific disease in particular. I'm just looking at a general model. For you, in your various groups, or when you are developing your model, you need to take into account the epidemiology of that disease. You need to know what is the latent period, what is the average infectious period, and all those other information that pertain to that particular disease. So we want to move. So let's do some coding in R. So we want to bring model, this model, we want to bring it now. We want to code this guy in R and run our simulation. Now, the first thing you need to do, have we all installed our Dsolve now? Aha. So I have commented it out. Remember, we were taught that when you use this guy, it means that what? You are telling R to what? To ignore that line of code. Is that clear? When you use the hash, it means you are telling R, don't run this guy. Dsolve, library Dsolve, open a fresh house script and load library Dsolve. You don't need to, if you have installed, you don't need to write this first line. You don't need to type this first line, because already on my system, I have Dsolve installed. That's why I commented it out. I don't need it. So you just start from here, load the package, load this package, sorry. Load this package, library Dsolve. What's the meaning of Dsolve? What's the meaning of Dsolve? Differential equation solver. Remember what we have. Our model is a system of differential equations. Looking at, for instance, the SDT equals to minus beta I x over n, the rate at which susceptible population change over time. When you have such activities, such processes, you represent them using differential equations. So Dsolve means, the D there means differential, E is equation, and then the solve there is short for solver. So Dsolve. Now, let me state this. that there are different, in fact, I've seen numerous ways of coding models in R, various ways, different ways. This one is just one way of doing it. Is that clear? So this is just one way of doing it that we can use. You will also see probably in your groups, your group leader will show you several other ways of coding R. So here we want to firstly define the initial states. Okay, my time just starts now. Thank you very much. It starts now, 1 hour. All right, so let's be fast. So firstly, we want to, can I move to R, Mr. DP? Do I have, how do I go to, I want to copy. Okay, next, yeah. Okay, copy. Okay, I'm at that father. Okay, let me open a new script. This guy. Yeah. So have we loaded the DSolve package? We'll be needing a function from DSolve called the what? The what? The ODE function that we mentioned earlier when we were looking at package functions. The ODE function is from the DSolve package. So let's load the DSolve. I want to remove this guy. Library DSolve. Can we run that? Now let's define the initial states. The initial states that we saw earlier. Define the initial states. So what is happening here? Who can tell me? What have we done here? Line 4. What did we do here? We created a vector. The vector has how many elements? 3 elements. What helps us to create that vector? The C, the concatenate function. We talked about it yesterday during our class. So we create a vector that has these 3 elements, S equals to 999. These are the initial condition, the initial states. And then the number of infected person is just 1, and recovered, no recovered. At the initial time of the outbreak, when the outbreak started, nobody has recovered. Only 1 person is infected. So we want to see, let us assume that that outbreak, that is our initial time. Only 1 person is infected out of 999 susceptible persons. So we want to see, in the long run, we want to carry out numerical simulation to see what will be the trajectory, how will the dynamics look like in the next maybe 40 days or 50 days or 100 days. So we have created this vector, and then we stored it as an object named what? We stored it as an object named what? States. Have we done that? Let's do that quickly. Create a vector that has 3 elements: S equals 999, I equals 1, R equals 0, and then assign it to the object state, and then run it. Have we done that? All right, so let's also define the model parameters. I don't understand what is going on here, Mr. Dolapo. So the model parameters, let's be fast. Let's define our model parameters. We also create a vector with how many elements? How many elements? 2 elements. And then we store it to the object named parameters. So beta is our transmission rate. Gamma is this guy, 0.1. Now, having done that, you should run the code. Please, if you need help, raise your hand so that somebody can come to help you. If you need help, so I can do this. Are we there? So we have defined our parameters just like we did for initial states. Because I want it to be, you've seen it, so you know what it is. You can comment it. You can do it yourself. Can't you? Huh? So that I want everybody to be able to see it at a glance. So beta is transmission rate. Gamma is what? Recovery rate. So you can always put that yourself and then make sure you comment it out using the hash whatever. So have we done that? Then we have a simulation time. What is the timeline of our model? Or the time frame we want our simulation to run with. So we use the sequence function. That's from 1 to what? To 120 by what? By steps 1. That means maybe every day. We are taking the time point. If it's a daily, if our model, if you are running it on a daily basis, or it could be weekly, or it could be monthly. So we are looking at every day, day 1, day 2, day 3, and then up to day 120. So we assign that to time. Are we together? Can we move? So please, you can run that. We have limited time, so I'm trying to be as fast as possible. Run time. Run that line of code. Code 9. Please, let's run it. Like I said, if you need help, you can raise your hand so that someone can help you. Are we together now? Now, we now want to define our function. Are we together now? So we want to define our function. We have defined the initial states, the parameters, and then the time frame we want our model to run. Now we need to now bring in a function, the user-defined function we want to work with. Now, like I mentioned earlier, your function, we've created a function, and then the inputs. What are the inputs of that function? Your differential equation, look at our model. It has time, the component of that model. It has some state variables, and it also has what? Parameters. So we have the time. So we have function. Remember, you open a bracket, and then put the argument there. Time, state, parameters. Then we open a curly bracket. This is a curly bracket here. Remember when we started function, defining user-defined function. We say it follows this structure. The name, that's function. You open a bracket here, and then you open a curly bracket and you close it. So it follows this structure. And that's the same structure we are using to define our model in R. So we have that function, 3 inputs, time, states, and parameters. Any issue? Can we move on? What is the issue? Huh? I'm too fast. The time is, we are running behind schedule. So we are creating a function which we have named what? What is the name of this function? What's the name of this function we are creating? SIR model. So we've created a function named SIR model. And then line 12, each of those states, the vector that we defined earlier, and then we store our states. We are doing some unpacking now. You want to unpack it, you go to the S compartment, and then you bring it out and assign it to the letter S here on the left-hand side. The same thing we are doing for the I compartment. We unpack it from where we defined it earlier, and then it is being stored as I. We also did the same for R, so that certainly we can always use the SIR. Are we together? Which point are we in now? Line what? Line 11. Okay. Let's be fast with that. So we have unpacked this and assigned to S for the states, the state variables. And then we also do the same thing for the parameters. Which one? Which one is not visible? So we do similar thing for the parameters, beta and gamma. Remember, you open a curly bracket here. See where my cursor is. And then everything that the function needs is in that curly bracket. Can we move on to parameters now? Can I leave line 11? So we have beta and then gamma also defined likewise.
Why?
Then our total population N equals to S plus I plus R. And we mentioned earlier that because it's not changing, it's a closed population, the total population will always be 1,000. So you can even replace S plus I plus R. You can use 1,000 here. Then we now define the rates of change. The three rates of change. The rate at which susceptible individuals are changing with respect to time, minus beta times S times I over N. We do the same for the two other compartments. Are we together? We're in what line now? Line what? 21, 22. We can also snap and then we type later on while looking at our phone. Okay, so let's be fast with that. And make sure you are typing it, you are coding it correctly. Line what now? Line 25. What is line 25 saying? So those rates of change, we have put them in vector form. Can you see that? Using the concatenate function, C, and then we now put it in list form because the ODE function we'll be using later on requires this requires the list format. So we'll put it in the list format. I'm not sure I've run this. Okay, let me know. Can we move now? So we have defined our function. Everything we need, we have put everything together. We've gathered all the tools, the initial state, the parameters, the time frame, the user-defined function. We've all gathered all the tools. Now we need to solve using what? We solve using which function? Using the ODE function. We solve the model So we solve using the ODE function. Let me try to break this. All right, so can we see the ODE function? The ODE function takes some arguments. The first argument it takes there is what? We have the y, which are the state variable. So I have y equals, what did I name my state variables? The initial states, remember it was named what? That vector was named what? States. So y equals to what? States. And then the times, it also has the times argument, which is equal to what? Time, which was what we named the our simulation time, which was stored as time. If you check, let's see. So this guy is stored as time here. So times equals time. And then the function we have defined, the user-defined function. What name did we give it? SIR model. So func equals to SIR model. If you use a different name, that is the name you're going to put. Equals your func equals to that. Then parms. The ODE function also has this argument parms. Parms equals to what? Parameters. Let's see what we use. So remember we defined, after creating this vector, we stored it as the object named what? Parameters.
Honey, we're not going to the pet.
So having defined this, now you put all the inputs, all the arguments that the O function needs, and then we have supplied everything, and we name this what? Out. You can use any name, any other name, outcome, or whatever, or output, but you have to be consistent.
Yes.
Are we together? Then we have out, and then we can also put it as data frame. And that is what we did in line 29. Our out. So what you are saying is, you are telling the ODE function to help you solve this model. Store the outputs, the results, or the solution as out. And then line 29 is now saying that what? Put that out as data frame and then overwrite it and still name it out. But if you like, you can use a different name. But for this, we just decide to still name it out. So it has overwrite what the previous out, and then it calls it out. You can use out df. So we have solved the model. We've solved the differential equations using the ODE function, and our result is saved at out here. And we can also view it. We're in line what now? Line what? Line. Are we running it?
Sugubu. Sweetie. Hey, what if I did? Yeah, just a big one. The sounds of the nothing. That's why I jump to get them back. I must have some. Oh,
so have we stored it as out now? Have you viewed it as data frame? How many of us have been able to view our output as data frame? Only 2 persons, 3, for, okay, let's wait for others.
Hey.
Let's wait for others. Quickly, let's view it as data frame.
Ako pero de boas na ni gini na sa. Kaya na sa.
So let me see. Let me try to run.
Eu scared it. Oh, I'm not sure she as one done the James Ward, it's too much and the agent. What did you tell the brown? The rush, but it remains the brown. I have been sitting.
So this is my data frame. It opens a new tab for me, and I'm able to see the columns, the time, the number of susceptible individuals as time goes on, the infected individuals, and the recovered individuals. Have we done that? Where are you? You are at what point? Line 30. Okay, we are waiting for you. It's not running. What is it saying? Error. What is the cause of the error? What is the error saying? So it means that you are missing out something. It could be that you didn't run some previous line of codes, or you said what? Okay. So make sure you run all the codes from the beginning, and ensure that, remember that R is case sensitive. And also note that view is V with a capital letter V. Please don't use small letter v. Yes, you can run all of them at once. You can highlight everything and run at once. You are there. All right, thank God. So let's now plot. Let's visualize. Let's try to visualize. What if I want to view maybe the first six values? What do I use? I use head. What about the last 6 values? Tail. If you want to view the first 6 values, you use head, or you use tail to view the last 6. All right, so we want to plot now. Can we plot now? Now, before we plot, you can always call out any of the columns in your data frame. So using the $sign, if I have out, I put the $sign. Can you see it brought out all the 4 columns? The time, the S, the I, the R column. So you can always call out any of them. Let's say time here, using this $sign. All right, so let's plot. Your data frame. Have you run it? Have you viewed the data frame? You have 4 columns. Now you can call out any of those columns. For instance, I want my time values or the susceptible individuals. I can call it using out dollar, whatever components you want. You put out the $sign, and then maybe S. And that is what we have done in the plot. If you see the plot now, the independent variable, the x-axis, can we see it? Let me remove this guy. So we are here now. So plots on the x-axis, we are calling out time, out $time. It gives us the values, time frame. And then on the y-axis, we want to plot the trajectory of the susceptible individuals over time. So we choose out $S. Huh? Who is saying something? Then the type. What type do we want to use? The type of, maybe the line we want to use for our plots. It could be points, it could be lines, it could be, yes, ma. Oh, okay, somebody is raising her hand there for help. Somebody should help her. ICAMDA team members, please go to our aid. So the type here is L. Then the line width, the thickness, LWD, helps us to specify the thickness of our line. So if you put it to 3, 3 will be thicker than 2. Here I used 2, you can use 4, it will be very thick. Then the color. Color is blue. Remember its character, so you put the quotation there. Then the X label. How do we want to label our x-axis? We want to label our x-axis time in days. Huh? Then the y-axis. We want to label our y-axis susceptible individuals. If you have done that, you can now run to plot. Who has plotted this? Okay, one person. We will not continue until everybody has plotted. Agreed? All right, let's be fast. Only one person has plotted. Another person. So if you have plotted, you can also plot for the infected individuals. If you have plotted for the susceptible individuals, quickly plot for infected individuals. Go to the next line and plot for infected individuals, and also do for the recovered individuals. To do that, you know what to do. What do I do? If I want to plot for the infected individuals, I will need to change what? My out $S to what? Out $I. And then I can change the color, and I can change the Y label to infected individuals. Somebody needs help over there. Let's be fast. Our time is up already. Who has plotted I? Somebody has plotted I already. The what? It's not 1, no, it is L. LWD equals to 2. It means your line the thickness, how thick do you want your line to be? 2, if you can increase it to 3 and then you see how thick it is, you can increase it to 4. So it specifies the thickness of your line width, the width of that line. The color blue. Color blue. Have we plotted for I and R? Have we plotted for I and R? We are not talking. Which one have you plotted, ma? None. What can far? Red. Error. Okay. Blue. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. So just change you can copy that code, paste it, and then change the S there to I, and then the Y label to infected individuals, and also run. Let's do that quickly. So I want to plot for I2. $I. Then I want to change the color to red, not blue now, to distinguish it from this other guy. Infected individuals. Infected individuals. So can we run? Have we obtained this plot for the infected individuals? Aha. So for the infected individuals, what can we say about the dynamics of the disease? Looking at these plots, what insights can we get from here? Yes, sir. Can we give him microphone quickly? I think this will stop here.
All right, sir. So with this now, he's saying at day 40, there is maximum infected individuals before it now declines down.
So we see that the infection started growing, and then it got to a peak at day what? At day 40. And after that, what happens? It starts declining. So what is our goal? What should be our goal as maybe public health officials or policymakers? What's our goal? Our goal should be what? To do what? Who is talking? I don't want this man to talk again. Another person. What should be our goal? What should be our goal? Who is talking? What should we do? We have run the simulation. We have seen the trajectory. We have seen the trajectory. So what should we do? Should we leave it the way it is? Or we should do something to it? Our goal is that we want to flatten this curve. We want to do what? Our goal should be to what? To flatten the curve. So how can you flatten it? What can we do to flatten it? We can reduce the transmission rates. We can put in some interventions that will help flatten the curve. Is that clear? Now, the exercise I'm going to give you because of our time. We have overshot my time. I'm going to plot all the three state variables, the S, I, and R on the same plots and add legend. That's our assignment. We submitted when? Tomorrow. You want to plot, we plotted them individually. We plotted the S. We plotted the S compartment. And then we also plot I. I didn't plot R, but I know that we almost have plotted for our individuals. So I want us to, the assignment is that you want to bring all these under the same plots. That is what you are going to do as an assignment. So how does S look like? Okay, this is I. I think S is like this, something like this. And then, so we want to plot this on the same plot area. So that's our assignment. And then you put legend. You use different colors. So at this juncture, I think I want to stop for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Facilitator, for that wonderful session. Please, let's appreciate him once again. So I don't know, very quickly, maybe just one or two questions. If we have questions for our facilitator, the first two persons I will pick. If you have questions, anyone with question? Okay, let me ask, how many of us was able to get the plot? How many of us from that end, I can see from that far end, from this row? And this row, how many of us was able to get the plot? Here, the hands are still scanty. And what of this end?
Nobody got the plots. They say raise your hand if you're able to get the plots.
Okay, so how do you feel when you got those plots? You feel happy, right? So those are some of the things that Arrow can help us with. And you can bear me witness that there is a whole lot to learn, actually, a whole lot to learn. And the time allotted for this, we may not be able to exhaust all of what we have to learn. So it also boils down to us on our individual practice.
I concern the code.
I'm hearing voice from the back end. It also boils down to us on our individual level to also put all of what we are learning into practice, some of these things. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sheon, for that wonderful session. Very quickly, so if you have any question, you have any challenge, you can also link up with our co-facilitators. They are working around, they can always put you through. So thank you very much. So at this juncture, we'll be going for